There's a lot of people who believe that you're a divisive voice when it comes to broader unity. How do you react to that?
They always think that we're divisive when we're calling out people who try to undermine us. And we got to be very real. There are a lot of people who are non-FBA who were allowed to come in our circles to try to undermine us. And we saw this with the reparations movement. We noticed whenever we talked about reparations and foundational Black Americans getting the justice claim served, we would have these random people pop up trying to act as spokespersons saying, hey, we shouldn't get no reparations. We need to leave these white people alone. We don't need no money. And then we start questioning each other. Who is this person? Where do these people come from? Whose man is this? And we noticed nobody knew who these people were. Then we started asking questions and doing research on them. We started to notice a lot of these people are foreigners. And we said, hey, wait a minute, how is this person who's a foreigner, who's not even qualified to get reparations, talking as our spokespersons? I remember years ago, they had a reparations hearing where they had Candace Owens and a guy named Coleman Hughes. Candace Owens, she identifies as Caribbean because that's where her family comes from, the Virgin Islands. Coleman Hughes.
Well, the Virgin Islands are a U.S. territory, though, right?
But culturally, because they were colonized by a lot of people. So culturally, there's something else. They're Caribbean culturally. But, and even Puerto Rico, that's a U.S. territory now, but culturally, it's something else. And this Coleman Cruz guy was talking about how we don't need reparations because they're not qualified, even though the Puerto Rico is the U.S. territory. During slavery, it was not a U.S. territory. So they're not qualified to get reparations. We're trying to get reparations from the U.S. government who had us enslaved and we couldn't get out of slavery because of the U.S. government. So a lot of these people don't have a legitimate reparations claim. They came later and they try to act as our spokespersons to undermine the reparations. So we started to say, hey, we have to call these people out and delineate from these people who are not supposed to be our spokespersons or our representatives. So we've been gatekeeping our culture, rightfully so, because we can't go to the Caribbean, we can't go to Africa telling them what they shouldn't get from the British and the French and the Portuguese. They wouldn't allow it over there, and we're not allowing it here.
Let's say you have a person who is half FBA, half U.S. Virgin Islands. Mm-hmm. Like, now, maybe not in the immediate term, but if you go back to through their lineage, right? How would reparations work for people who are at least, a half, a quarter, 75% FBA? Right. How does that work from your math?
It works because if you were born here, born on U.S. soil, you got a parent or a relative, one of your parents comes from an FBA lineage, then you do qualify. What happens is people try to muddle the water sometimes. They'll try to say, like I was arguing with somebody about Drake. Somebody was trying to say, well, Drake, couldn't he qualify for reparations? Because his dad is FBA, but Drake was born in Canada. Drake is a Canadian. So he's not a foundational Black American. He's a Canadian who has foundational Black American lineage. Just like a person, if they were Irish and they moved to Canada and they had a kid with a Canadian, that kid is not Irish. The kid has Irish ancestry, but the kid is Canadian. So same thing. There's some people who have foundational Black American lineage, but if you're born in another country, you're not a foundational Black American. So we got to just understand how nationality and ethnicity works.